Greetings and welcome to episode 203 of the Words About Gamescast, the weekly video game podcast for words about games. I'm your host, Amy Alexander. I'm joined this week by the one and only glorious one, Mr. Moody.
Hello.
Hello.
Is it me you're looking for?
It was, yeah. When I clicked on thing in Discord, and I clicked call. I was like, that's who I'm looking for.
How are you, Amy?
I'm good. You started a trend on our old Words About Games YouTube channel with your whole because now literally everybody did it.
Gotta do it.
5 people in a fantasy game league update video, and by the end of it, Moody's got everybody freaking
Aim for the stars.
aim for the stars, motherfucker. Oh man, I'm good though. Like, I'm struggling to keep up with all the games that I want to play though. Like, I've got one chapter left on Final Fantasy VII. I've got 8 levels left on the Apex Legends Season 4 Battle Pass. I've just gotten all the gear on Animal Crossing for I'm building like this amusement park in like a big plot of land on my island. I've got an indie game that I need to play and review. I've got finished Mass Effect Andromeda, which is becoming more and more of a struggle the more I interact with the side quests, but I'll talk more about that in a future video. And then I'm watching the craziest Twitter poll on my Twitter account.
I saw it. Yeah,
It's gone-
one game has fought back.
It's gone all over the place. Like, I've literally ended up just going, fuck it, and I've installed all 3 games. And I was like, I don't know which one's going to win.
The one that'll probably be the easiest to finish is obviously the one that was losing when we went to bed last night, and that's had a comeback. I won't want to say the game. I don't want to say the games because I don't want to spoil it for everybody. Go check out your Twitter and vote.
Twitter.com/Droplod. In fact, it's right there on the bottom corner of the screen. At Droplod is the top one. I put 3 games up for my next retrospective review because I really wanted to. That's exactly right. I really wanted to play all 3 of them. And I was like, I get indecisive, Moody. It's like you know when we're talking about anime, and I was like, just give me one. I don't want a big list, otherwise I'm not going to watch any of it because I'm not going to be able to decide what to watch. Just give me one, and you gave me one, and I watched it, and I loved it. It's with these games, it's like I need someone else to pick because I've got these 3 games. 2 of them are pretty fucking huge, and I'm like, I don't know which one I want to do next. I want to do all 3. I can't do all 3. I need someone to pick for me. And all 3 games have been in the lead.
The one I voted for is the one I think is probably in the middle of the road, where it's probably is just as long as one of the other ones, but is easier to finish, I would say, than the other one.
That is true. However, you don't take into account Tetramaster, which is the card game in Final Fantasy IX, which...
Oh, you just spoiled one of the games.
I don't care. The games of Final Fantasy IX, Bloodborne, or The Last of Us. Go vote on one of them. Tell me what to do a retrospective review on next. My last retrospective review was 25 minutes long.
If you want a short one, pick The Last of Us.
Oh, it'll still be that.
That's true. It'll still be long. If you want a middle-of-the-road one, pick Final Fantasy IX, the best game of all time. And if you want an extremely long one where Amy might actually pull out her hair when she's finished this game, again, pick Bloodborne. I've just told everyone which one to vote for there by saying that.
I've watched a lot of so many speed runs of Bloodborne at this point that I've got the strats for the boss down. It's just I've got to execute them.
Yeah.
Like my fingers have got to be the ones that do the things. But anyway,
the fingers are gonna do the thing. Do the thing.
Enough about my retrospective reviews, movie, because this isn't a retrospective review. This is the Words About Gamescast, where every week we discuss what's been going on in gaming, the games industry, and gaming culture over the past 7 days. Didn't flub it for the first time in like a month. Moody's promoting his Xbox is just to balance out us
I'm missing a controller, ladies and gentlemen. You haven't listened to her call out last week. I'm still missing a controller. I've got a Switch. It's down there. You probably can't see it because it's very dark down there right now, but it's a controller I'm missing.
There's a controller I'm missing as well because I was playing Final Fantasy and it's over there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Gone.
But continuing.
Reach. This week, we discuss how the games industry is coping with the coronavirus outbreak, the NPD sales figures for March, another new E3 replacement show coming this summer, a huge Nintendo data breach, and more. As always, there are timestamps in the description below the video on YouTube, so you can watch any particular piece of this podcast you want. You can watch it in any order you want. You can watch the whole thing backwards. It's entirely up to you. We don't mind. We're just happy you're here. That'll probably be a post-show discussion because we've been doing those recently because they're fun.
I enjoy it.
I just enjoy talking about stuff with you. Not gonna lie.
Thank God we get along and we enjoy each other's company.
I know, right?
Because that might be really awkward.
Oh,
you're just good at the hosting God's talk. Maybe I don't really want to know your opinion. Okay, so
yeah,
I might
just shut up to you. Just talk, and then I'll just talk, and then we'll just get through this.
Yeah. And after that, I'm just gonna finish recording, and you're gonna piss off. But I expect you back this time next Sunday.
We're in this arrangement. You sign a contract.
It was in blood.
Yeah, if there's ever not a post-show discussion on an episode going forward, Moody's finally pushed me too far in Apex Legends. I just fucking no.
No, I think what we did on that last one hyped us up to get second again. So
that's true.
I won't lie. Keith may not have believed in us, Sammy, but we got there.
Keith didn't believe in us. In fact, we'll save that for the post show. Remind me to talk about doors.
Doors.
At the end of the podcast, and Keith.
Doors. Remember doors.
But for now, let's talk about the first news story. That is, I just lost the ability to say English sentences for a second there. Gaming sales. How weird would it be if I just suddenly started speaking French out of nowhere?
But you'd be better in about boys I could.
I'd be terrible at it. I don't remember any French. I remember the French saucisson. That was French for sausage. And that's one of about 7 French words I remember from school. Gaming sales are up, but production is down. This is from Jason Schreier over at the New York Times, which sounds really weird to say. Jason Schreier, not at Kotaku. At the New York Times. Remember doors. Gotcha. So this is another gigantic Jason Schreier article. So I've done what I did last week when we discussed the last gigantic Jason Schreier article, which was supposed to be his last article before he went on holiday, but apparently not. I split it down into different parts so I can take pauses and Moody can talk. Because otherwise he's going to be sitting there for like 10 minutes like... During the early days of self-quarantine at Larian Studios, the independent video game developer founded in Ghent, Belgium, morale remained high. Designers and engineers, many of whom worked remotely, the company has 300 employees across 5 countries, were able to continue to do so, building levels and writing code from their homes. Quote, "The very first week it went really well," said Sven Vink, the chief executive at Larian, which makes popular role-playing games like Divinity Original Sin and the upcoming Baldur's Gate 3. Everyone had all the information they needed to just smoothly go work from home. End quote. But as the company entered the second and third weeks of social isolation amid the coronavirus pandemic, problems began to emerge. Parents have to work while caring for young children. Some employees have found themselves working limited or unusual hours, which has led to reduced productivity and communication struggles. And with Larian's external partners closing or transitioning to remote work, everything has slowed down. That's the first bit. The intro, the prologue.
Yeah, it is one of those things because like I'm technically still at college, doing stuff for my own thing, and I'm finding it a struggle while I'm talking to my teachers and everything, saying this is like it's really turned to, since like my project was cancelled. I've found it really hard just to push forward to keep up to date and do things. Everything it is one of those things that it's like. Yeah, it's going to affect people in so many different ways and everything. I think I've been reasonably overall lucky because I do this with you. I've got my own thing as well, and like
glorious movie show. Just check it out.
But
it's good.
Yeah, new episode out. Talked about Jurassic Park. I've lost my train of thought now. But yeah, it's one of those things like it's like I think I'm better off right now because I'm able to do other things. But these people, like, I don't have a kids or anything like that. I am just one person. These people are people who are or have got other things going on, so I can see it's very disruptive.
Yeah, it's like my day job I'm furloughed from, so like I can't work from home.
Yeah,
So I'm legit like doing nothing as far as like my job goes. But I also don't have responsibilities like kids and or people I need to take care of. Um, which does present its own problems. Like in terms of like you say motivation, like sometimes it's really difficult to like to do this, like not this podcast because this is what we do. Like this is scheduled, but like when it's like cool, I need to play this game to make a video of it, and it's like, and it's taken me longer, weirdly enough, than it normally would sometimes to be like play the game, record the footage, write the video, do this, do that, and it's like sometimes I just hit a wall.
yeah. It's a disruption in life and everything because nine times out of 10 you're gonna be like, okay, I know I can only do this to this time because I have to finish so I can go to sleep to probably go to work and
Yeah,
everything. You know what I mean? And it's just that disruption that is gone that right now you do not have, and all people do not have right now, apart from the essential workers. Respect to all of you, and everything. So
oh
yeah,
yeah, 100%.
it's just it is a real pain in the backside right now. No doubt
Yeah,
about it.
I saw two tweets today actually. Um, that was similar in content that summed the situation up perfectly. Where it was like, do sleeping patterns even matter anymore? Um,
Yeah, I saw that
and
one as well.
what even is a weekend? Like,
What is a Sunday?
what is a
Basically,
Sunday?
every
Like,
day is a Sunday right
every
now.
day is like a Sunday. Not for me because I usually work on a Sunday. Every day is like a Saturday. It's like I put out a video today because it's like, well, fuck it. Normally I would hold the video because weekends are toxic for like putting out YouTube videos, but every day is the same. So what's the point? What's
Yeah,
the difference?
yeah.
And it is a
Small
strange,
content,
strange world.
yeah. Small content creators are like trying to pump out as much as they physically can at this moment in time, especially if you're like a video game one or something. But it's a really. I'll shout out to all of them who are still doing it really hard, doing it as best they can. But so remember to stay safe at the same time. Just if you can't do it, speak to your bosses, be talk to them, and say it's so these things are happening. Which we've got to find the right balance and everything for people.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be looking back on this in the near future and just be like, well, that was fucking weird.
Yeah, I expect to do that at the beginning of 2021.
Just be like, well, that happened. World War
Hopefully.
Three almost happened. Australia almost burnt to the ground, and then this.
How weird is that? That's completely forgotten about.
Yeah, that all
Personally,
happened. That all
yeah,
happened this year.
that is
Like,
crazy to think.
the amount
Good God.
of insanity that's happened in 2020 has been fucking nuts. Whew. 2021 will be better though, I'm sure. Anyway, I'm going to tackle the next section of this. This is a bit of a beefier section. Video games might seem to be the perfect business for this new reality, in which most of the world has asked citizens to self-isolate in hopes of combating the pandemic. Bored and restless at home, people are taking solace in games. The shooter game Doom Eternal, released in mid-March, had the best sales weekend of any game in the series. Animal Crossing, a simulation in which the player can create an idyllic existence by building homes and selling turnips. That's a fantastic description. Has
It
broken
really is.
sales records and become a cultural phenomenon. ESPN is showing esports, and video game streaming sites are bringing in massive viewerships. From the fourth quarter of 2019 to the first quarter of 2020, the streaming platform Twitch exceeded 3 billion hours watched for the first time, according to a report from the software service Streamlabs. Yet video game developers, as well as the large corporations behind the gaming consoles, have faced challenges adapting to a world in which offices and factories are closed and designers have children vying for their attention at home. Behind the scenes, questions linger as to how to tackle a crisis that could last weeks or months, particularly for those making games and gaming consoles that they hoped to release this year. Sony, the publisher of PlayStation consoles and dozens of video games, said in early April that it would be delaying the much anticipated The Last of Us Part 2 from May 29th to an undetermined date. Just catch my breath. Developers at Naughty Dog, the studio behind the game, said the delay was because of the current challenges of printing, shipping, and selling physical copies of video games. With factories closed, distribution pipelines disrupted, and the retailer GameStop operating at reduced capacity, Sony worried that physical sales would be diminished. Sony isn't alone. Amazon delayed its multiplayer game New World from spring to August in order to reach, quote, in order to reach our quality bar as we work remotely for the foreseeable future, the company said in a statement. The publisher Square Enix had to delay a big new update for its online game Final Fantasy XIV. The Microsoft-owned post-apocalyptic RPG Wasteland 3 was bumped from May 19th to August 28th, with its developers citing, quote, these new logistical challenges, end quote, in their explanation. Everything got delayed. Jason was right.
So who do we send to do the deed on him for doing this? Anyway, I'm thinking John Wick. I know Keanu's very nice, but as John Wick, he's a badass.
Yeah, we'll just tell him he's filming John Wick 4, right? Like,
yeah, we'll just say that. Yeah,
it's for John Wick 4. Don't worry about it. Guy's a stuntman; he can take it.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, but keep on it. Keep on it. One of the things I'll go through all of that, but one of the things that is like a huge standout is obviously the 3 billion hours watched on streams and everything. Like a lot of jobs, like I say, are all like very changed right now to go to streaming. Like F1. F1's completely postponed right now, and obviously most of the drivers have created Twitch streams and are streaming them playing the F1 game constantly want to have fun, obviously, but also to keep it practicing to the best of their abilities and everything because they can't really go out. I've watched a few of them and it's a lot of fun. But like for the things getting delayed, I think it's one of those things that's going to happen because people do not have the equipment to do these things. I'm very intrigued by like. Going back to the F1, that new F1 game is technically meant to come out in July, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm curious if that will actually be able to happen, but it seems like they're confident enough, so respecting them for that. But how many people will have? You got to think how many people will have a rig for them to play it at home, a proper rig like from the drive it with a wheel and everything, because they'll need it. The QAs will need that and everything for them to do that properly. I'll be very interested to see if they are able to do that. Well, they probably must be able to, as they are obviously still saying July and everything, which is fantastic. I'm excited for it, but I hope they aren't rushing it.
Well, we'll talk about something like that in a little bit further down the article. But I mean, in terms of F1 2020 specifically, like they announced that game's release date after basically everybody went into lockdown because it was only a couple of weeks ago. If that, I feel like there are some companies that seem to be like I think The Last of Us The Last of Us Part 2 is ready, right? Like it's ready to go. Sony just decided to delay it because of distribution, not because of the game like itself and the state of the game.
Mm-hmm. Which is understandable as well. I can understand it. Why?
Like a lot of games have been delayed. Like, and probably more than we know. Like games like F1 maybe F1 2020 was supposed to come out at the beginning of June. Like,
possibly, yeah.
But we didn't know because they didn't announce a release date. Because there's a few games that have been delayed by like a week or a couple of weeks or like a month. Like, it's a knock-on effect, but at the moment it doesn't seem like it's too big a knock-on effect. Like, apart from The Last of Us Part 2, nothing's just disappeared off the face of the planet. And we're still getting new games. Like, God, we're getting new games. I'll tell you all about that at the end of the show, but, like, yeah, it seems
funny
like... yeah. It seems like anything... It seems like everything's probably going to get delayed, but not by much. Like, we're pretty sure that Apex Legends Season 5 got delayed by a week. Like, because he announced a Season 4 extension for a week, and it's like it feels like it's impacting, but not like hugely
breaking.
Yeah, like not breaking everything for now. Like if this goes on for a long time, like maybe we'll start to see bigger and bigger delays, like an exponential effect almost.
Yeah. Just hopefully things will start getting sorted out. We'll start going down and things start getting unlocked, but obviously to all of everyone just like stay safe and everything. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And don't worry about it if they're getting delayed. There's a reason. We know this, everybody. Like
Yeah.
these people can't just crunch for you.
Yeah. The next part. There's a couple of paragraphs here I'll read. Cancelled or delayed events. Ooh. Cancelled or delayed events have also thrown roadblocks in the way of releases. Someone, I must have cut a paragraph out between there.
Mr.
Mr. Dowling.
Dowling? Yeah.
Mr. Dowling had planned to show Drake Hollow at the Game Developers Conference, an annual March event in San Francisco, but it was cancelled, costing the game potential media coverage. Big game publishers are still scrambling to figure out replacement plans for E3, the video game convention held each June, in which big new games were announced and showcased. Developers who relied on these events to strike marketing deals or find financing for their games now find themselves facing ruinous consequences. Jukka Laakso, the chief executive of the Finland-based studio Rival Games, wrote in a blog post on April 10th that he was shutting down his company. Quote, "The studio has already been struggling," he said, "but the pandemic shut down all the leads that we had and left us lost in the dark with no way out." So we talked about this when we've been talking about like show cancellations all year. It's like there's a like E3 being cancelled, like what sucks for us not getting all of the E3 stuff, the big game announcements, the fun stuff. But there's a side to these shows that we don't really see, which is person A meets publisher B and shows them the game, and then they sign a deal to keep the studio afloat while they make the game and they publish the game. Like I've seen it happen a lot at EGX where like marketing PR people go out and check out the games on the show floor, and then deals get struck. And that's just at EGX. Like I imagine GDC and E3 are like huge for that kind of thing.
Yeah. This is the dark part of it at the end of the day. It really is like say one like the Finland based studios shut down and everything. I'm gutted for the people who work their ass off and everything for all these people. Like for the thing when it comes to E3, like we talked about when it was finally announced that it was cancelled and everything, that all the people who were prepared probably like if it's a knock-on effect for multiple other industries, the hospitality industry, the production industry, the whole thing, all of those people who have lost about 8 to 6 weeks of work just to pre-production, prepare and all like this for the billboards and everything for E3, and it's just the whole knock-on effect. Like I say, we're going to be hearing about studio closures, I think, for the next entire year and everything. It's going to keep popping up, I think, probably from people like Jason Sardi, who has found out about these things and everything. It's this is the dark part of it. There's no doubt about it. Where it is a shame, and I just hope that to everybody who has been affected by this, I hope you land on your feet, you find a new job and everything, in whatever field you are in.
And I look forward to playing your future games.
Definitely,
wherever they may be and wherever.
Or looking at your beautiful billboard that you put on a wall.
Yeah. Well, hey, those E3 billboards,
sexy as hell.
They're no joke.
Yeah.
They're big news every year.
Yeah.
And I look forward to 2021 seeing the whatever game on the three billboards. Okay, next part. Another major logistical hurdle for video games in 2020 will be getting through certification, a process required by the three major console manufacturers, Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony. Before any developer can release a game on Switch, Xbox, or PlayStation, those companies want to ensure that there are no game-breaking glitches. Wish someone had certified Fallout 76. But certification testers at those companies are now working remotely, which has raised questions about security and productivity. Developers worry that with everything taking longer than it normally does, a backlog may emerge. I just watched We Have Cool Friends. I should be able to pronounce this. Geneviève Saint-Onge is the co-founder of Pop Agenda, a company that helps small developers get their games out the door. Usually, she said, she recommends that her clients finish their games with a buffer of 4 to 6 weeks for certification time. Since the pandemic started, she's been telling them to plan for 8 to 10 weeks. Yeah, we don't need to worry, but that's basically a quote reiterating what it said.
Yeah.
So this is
Which is understandable.
It's another knock-on effect thing, right? That you don't really think about. Where it's like, like I was just talking about, it looks like a lot of games are being delayed by like 1 to 4 weeks, and I wonder if it's just a certification issue because the people who certify the games are having to work from home, which is slowing them down. There's a lot that is unseen as far as like how like it's like the spinning plates thing, where it's like there's so many spinning plates that are involved in just a video game being made and then like being in your PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, whatever.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people are suddenly getting a crash course in like all of these different things. Like we've talked about, I imagine there's games being delayed because of certification issues, and there's games being delayed because production times are like development times are longer now. The Last of Us was delayed because of distribution. Like normally it's just we're delaying a game and then that's it. That's all we hear. Like we're delaying for polish. It's always polish.
But it's always other things. They
But
just
it's
put out
usually
the
something
one.
else. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like we just said on the other thing, it's a whole knock-on effect. These things, like what she's saying, is spot on. Like I said, that we had now that she, what is it? The quote is like they've said, she's saying plan out for 8 to 10 weeks now, extend it, make it easier for you, so and obviously make it easier for the people who have to certify it and everything. So
Yeah.
yeah, it is a complete total thing. So yeah, again, shout out to the entire team for that.
Yeah, I wonder if it's going to be the same at like places like the ESRB as well for like age rating games and stuff. Like, I wonder if there's going to be like backlogs created for like rating age ratings, because I remember watching the
Yeah,
NoClip documentary about how the ESRB rates games, and like it's a group of people who get together in a room to like look at the game. Well, they can't put a group of people together in the room, and I don't
yeah.
think like Sony wants Ghost of Tsushima being broadcast over a network to like various different people. Like, so that's another sort of interesting sort of. I wonder how that works now. In
I mean, you gotta think they probably just get sent it, maybe get sent a disc.
yeah, maybe everybody just gets their own thing and they all just do it on their own and then
Chat about it on
jump
Skype.
in Zoom or something with all the funky Zoom backgrounds. I'm age rating this game, but I'm also on the moon.
Yay!
Woo! Look
It's
out!
safer up here than down there, guys.
Moon rocks.
All you have to do is just hold your breath.
Believe it or not, we've still got quite a ways to go through this story.
That's true. You got the same.
Do we need to read the stuff about gaming consoles? Because I feel like we've talked it to death.
No, we don't need to talk about
Yeah.
that.
So we'll just skip it to the end.
So
to
you're
the
going
last
part
part.
6?
Yeah, part 6. Two developers of video games planned for this fall, who spoke on condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to speak to the news media, said that so far they had chosen to cut scope rather than delay their games. Because of slowdowns in productivity at their studios and at outsourcing houses, particularly in China and India, they plan to cut features, levels, and quests in hopes of making their deadlines. But there are some aspects of game development that can't be emulated from home, like performance capturing, an expensive process in which an actor stands on a soundstage and mimics character movements. Those actions are filmed and translated to animations that can be used in the game. Quote, "We don't have a solution for it," said Mr. Fink of Larian Studios, adding that he hoped to be able to get back in the performance capture studio soon alongside heavy disinfecting and social distancing policies. "We're hoping that eventually we're going to organise something," end quote. A more prevalent concern across video game productions is voice acting. Quote, "We had one project in the middle of recording," said John Ricciardi, a co-founder of 8 to 4 Limited, a Tokyo-based localization company which translates scripts. "And 2 or 3 lined up to be starting soon. The one that's in the middle is just on pause, the other ones are delayed," end quote. Although voice actors can record from their homes, the sound can be inconsistent, Mr. Ricciardi said, especially if part of a game's dialogue has already been recorded in the studio. Mr. Vink said that Larian's next project, the highly anticipated role-playing game Baldur's Gate 3, was still on track for an early access beta release this year. Larian's internal estimates show that their teams are operating at 70 to 80% of their normal productivity, at least for now.
Again, going back to what you're saying, like it's not just one thing. This is affecting multiple parts of gaming industry. The like voice acting and everything like that. That's a huge part, especially when you have a voice actor doing your job and everything. Like that's hurting other places as well, other companies like anime and everything. So yeah, it is a crappy thing right now. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, it's just like it's cool to like. Well, it's not cool, but you know what I mean. It's informative to read like an article like this, where because we've talked
Yeah.
about delays for like the last month, 2 months,
Mhm.
and like what could potentially delay this console or what is delaying this video game. But it's interesting to read Jason sort of break all of this down and say, look, yeah, sure, like the last part of this of the bit that I just read, where it's like the teams are operating about 70 to 80% of normal productivity. It's like, yeah, we already knew that because that's like the headline of all of this, right? It's like that's what we already know. But
Yeah.
then it's like, but you, like it makes you take into consideration all the other stuff like certification, age ratings, voice acting, motion capture. It's like all of a sudden it's like, wait, none of this is up and running, like, or it's all being impacted. So it's like what I was talking about before with exponential delays. I think the longer there's like a lockdown, excuse me, the longer there's a lockdown, I think the longer the delays will get. Because everything becomes exponential. Like the backlog at the certification company will get longer. The
Yeah.
backlog at the ASRB will get longer. Like all of a sudden, a game like Persona 5 Scramble Strikers, which is already out in Japan, but I assume is being localized. It's like, well, that's going to take longer because they can't record the voice lines for it.
Yeah. That may no longer be on your 2019 list.
We've got a long. It's only April. I'm sure we'll be fine. The game's finished. It's already there. They just need to do the localization.
Keep pushing it back, guys. Come on, she's got too many points already.
Taking something of a commanding lead, but yeah, it's like I like this article because it's informative, and it's sort of it's informative in good ways, where it's like, hey, here's some stuff you didn't think about, like that could be affecting this. There's a whole like I cut out like whole paragraphs. You should definitely check the article out over at the New York Times website. We didn't talk about a whole thing with the games consoles because honestly, we've been talking about them for the last 2 months in terms of this.
Going off the crazy rumors, we might be talking about them even more in May. So, if they actually happen, if they happen, ladies and gentlemen,
fingers crossed that will be.
Fingers crossed.
That the next time we talk about these consoles, we'll be talking about these consoles and not just about a controller or some batteries or what we think this. Trying to read tea leaves. That's what it feels like we're trying to do sometimes.
It's really basically what it is. The whole thing, like the whole thing is like everything's getting delayed and everything like that. And what this does, like what you just said, it informs us all. And I hope that everyone has read this instead of going on the socials and going, yeah, my favorite thing is getting delayed. Fuck this world and everything like that. No, there's a reason for this, ladies and gentlemen. Don't worry about it. Especially if you are reading the news or watching the news, you know what's going on and everything. Sadly, there are probably some people who just shut-ins and they don't realize what's going on.
There are some people who will read this and still be like, well, I want my favorite game now. It's like, well, tough.
Yeah.
Like
Amy got lucky, ladies and gentlemen. She got her favorite game.
I got lucky. I got Final Fantasy VII. Like, on time. I mean, the game came out on time, but I didn't get it on time. But it's like, there are games still coming out, and old games haven't gone anywhere.
Yeah. It's like going back to the thing of like, you and me know that localization for a game, or optimization, should I say, is the biggest thing for game development. We all know every time people say it's broken, it's been a broken state throughout most of its lifetime. Everyone, like half the time we see on Twitter is like people going, "Oh, it means it's gonna break. Oh, I hope they fix this in time." It's thinking,
yeah, they will.
Of course, it's broken throughout most of its bloody lifetime, people.
Like at a certain point, like I'm not a game development expert in any way. If I was, I'd be making games, not talking about them. But I've talked about this enough, and I've followed this enough. And I follow like 500 game developers on Twitter that, like, it's a miracle. Like, from my perspective, it's a miracle that any game works when it comes out. Because the amount of tiny little thing. Like, if they're developing, like, Cyberpunk, say, and they add in, like, a light in one level, it could break the entire level. Like, that's the kind of thing you're dealing with in terms of, like, video game development. So for me, if I'm playing a game, it works... I'm like, this is awesome. This is a miracle. Like this is working.
What you want,
So I'm very lenient on stuff like that, and like delays are no big deal. Like 10 years
Delays are
ago,
brilliant. I love
I
delays.
love delays. 10 years ago, when I was yeah, I mean, I still get a bit mad. Like I was, like I said to you when we were talking about The Last of Us being delayed, I was devastated that that game was delayed. But it's understandable. I live,
Yeah.
and hey, like it gives me time to play other games.
Gives you time to platinum Final Fantasy VII.
I'm not platinum Final Fantasy. I looked at the trophy list. I was like, it's not happening. You've got to complete like the whole game on hard, and there are a couple of boss fights in that game that just I hate them.
I just saw a friend of mine on Twitter literally just put a post saying I got the platinum, and I went, damn,
Yeah, I saw
respect,
that. Yeah, I saw that. I was like, damn. Like, I respect to anyone who gets a platinum on a game. Like,
That's true.
because it's like, fuck.
Unless it's on a Telltale game. No offense to Telltale games, I love them, but damn, they were too easy.
Yeah,
just play the story. You got the platinum.
I mean, hey, there's nothing wrong with that approach. Because
that
like
is true.
a lot of people don't even finish games.
That is true.
Like you get the trophy for like you have finished this game, and it's like 25% completion. It's like, wow.
Toodles.
Interesting. But anyway, we've said our piece on that. That was basically the news story of the week. So
yeah,
let's move on to the NPD March 2020 breakdown. I've been looking forward to this one. Because yeah, like video games, it even says gaming sales are up in the previous headline of the previous article we just wrote. So I've been really interested to see how this one shakes out. The top 10 best-selling games of March 2020 are: number 1, Animal Crossing New Horizons; number 2, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019; number 3, MLB The Show 20; number 4, Resident Evil 3; number 5, NBA 2K20; number 6, Doom Eternal; number 7, Persona 5 Royal; number 8, Grand Theft Auto 5; number 9, Borderlands 3; and number 10, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Also, Neo 2 was a new release that came in 11th. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX came in 15th. And Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Remastered came in 20th. Animal Crossing New Horizons didn't just take over Twitter. It took over everybody's Nintendos.
Well, like, Doom's lower than I thought it was going to be.
Doom
just
is
hearing
yeah, because this is what I was saying, because I mentioned this when the results came out. We were playing Apex. And I mentioned this, and I said, wow, like, I was surprised Animal Crossing wasn't number 1. Not because I didn't think it sold well, it obviously did, but because it's on one platform.
Yep.
And then Doom Eternal's on 3.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems really low. Like, it obviously sold well enough for Bethesda to be like, it's record-breaking, which is cool. I was expecting it to have outsold Resident Evil 3.
Yeah, I was expecting that as well. No offense to Resident Evil franchise in general, Doom is the more iconic overall and everything, and people were that just maybe proves that people were more hyped for Resident Evil 3 than Doom.
Yeah,
which is weird to think. But either way, congratulations for all of them and everything. But yeah, you are spot on for all of it. Like, not surprising Animal Crossing's high.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised it's number 1 because it's on just one console. But Doom, I'm surprised it's so low.
Just wait till we read the notes about Animal Crossing. It'll blow your mind even more. Also, Persona 5 Royal being at 6 and Neo 2 being at 11th. I think that's really good for both of those games. That's really cool because those games are pretty niche. So, like, to see them, like, quite high up. Like, Persona 5 Royal beat Grand Theft Auto 5. Which is,
both
is a mainstay.
Console exclusive, aren't they, to PlayStation?
Persona 5 Royal is only available on PlayStation 4, so is Neo 2.
Is it Neo 2 on PC?
No,
am I wrong?
I think it's coming to PC. Okay. I don't think it is.
Okay. No worries.
Because I know the first one came to PC, but it didn't launch on PC.
Yeah.
So I remember Fix getting a code for it and playing it because it was hilarious watching him play a Soulspawn game. No offense, Fix. Yeah, like the original came to PlayStation 4 in February 2017, and it came to PC in November 2017.
So that's probably going to happen the same for Neo 2, unless it was published. Pushed, depending.
Neo 2 was published in Europe by Sony, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Because I remember reaching out to Koei for a code, and it was like, no, yeah, Sony published it.
Yeah.
So I was like,
The one that just shows the power of Pokemon still, Pokemon Mysterious Dungeons in the top 20.
yeah. I mean,
And that's
Pokemon. It's Pokemon, right?
yeah,
There's a lot of people out there who will just buy Pokemon because it says Pokemon.
Pokemon, yeah, that's true. But it's just like understandable. Like the last year's game, Shield and Sword sold incredibly well. We all knew they were going to be, but this one I was thinking it'll sell well, but I didn't think it'd be this well. But congratulations to all the games, even Grand Theft Auto 5. Again,
Yeah. I think there's a switch effect on Nintendo games at the moment where I think even when Wii U didn't sell very well, but its attach rates for its first party games were ludicrous. Like you were looking
yeah,
at like 50-60% attach rates for things like Mario Kart 8, which is unheard of like for any other console manufacturer. And I think that's still applying to the Switch, which is why I think things like Animal Crossing and even Pokemon Mystery Dungeon are selling that well because a lot of people are still buying the game. Like when the Switch launched, Breath of the Wild sold more copies than the Switch did. Like in the first month, I remember that was a thing. So people were buying
yeah,
the
because
game in
of both consoles.
anticipation of getting the Switch, but like more people bought Breath of the Wild on Switch than Switches were sold. Because Nintendo fans are incredible. Like they buy their first party games. Like they
Yeah,
show up.
they're loyal for them. There's no
Yeah,
doubt about it,
it
and
had like
respect to
a
them. Like I said.
105% attach rate or something. It's like never seen anything like that before. Okay, the top 10 best-selling games year to date. We've finally got a new number one 3 months in. Number one, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. That's a new. Number two, Animal Crossing New Horizons. Number three, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Number four, NBA 2K20. Number five, MLB The Show 20. Number six, Grand Theft Auto 5. Number seven, Resident Evil 3. Number eight, Madden NFL 20. Number nine, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Number 10, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. One, two, three. Three new games in the top 10.
Well, definitely, like I said, we already know that Animal Crossing sold well. Shout out to Kakarot. Game sucked. I'm not gonna lie. Personally, it was not a good game for me personally, but for the fans, it gave come out and they've supported that just like Nintendo fans do. And a shout out to Resident Evil 3. The game's been mixed for a lot of people. You were very mixed on it. I've overall enjoyed it, but I can see the flaws of it, no doubt about it. But that's sold well. The market, respect to the marketing, they did their job, and they've done their job well.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So here's my question, Murray.
go.
I have a question. Before we dive into the notes and see what the numbers actually mean. Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Oh,
Do you think there's a chance that in January 2021, we're sitting here doing the breakdown of 2020, and Animal Crossing New Horizons was the best-selling game of the year?
yes, but it's all going to depend on the next Call of Duty. I have to say,
What if
it's
there's
going to be
no?
between those.
I want to do a discussion, but I don't want to do it here because I was thinking about Warzone coming out in March and COVID-19 and everything we heard about Call of Duty last year being like in development hell. What if there's no Call of Duty this year?
I think we would have not heard something by now.
Because
Maybe.
they released Warzone, which is free. They released the Modern Warfare 2 campaign, remastered. What if all we get is Modern Warfare 3 campaign remastered, and then like a brand new Call of Duty in 2021? I've been thinking about this the last couple of weeks. I don't know.
It would keep with the thing of that. Yo, we were still annually.
We dropped
Call of
3.
Duty games. We dropped 3. One of them was free, and everything. Yeah.
I just think I don't know. Maybe it's like a perfect storm type thing. I was just like it crossed my mind. So
The more we don't hear anything, the I think there's always the chances of what you're saying go up a little bit. There's no doubt about that. But it'd be really weird if it was not a
Call of
new
Duty
game. Yeah, a new game, not a remastered.
because
It
the
would be
last
very
Call of
weird.
the last year there wasn't a Call of Duty game.
Good God.
Would have
I don't
been
wanna know that.
2006. I think, no? 2004 was the last year there was
So I
no
was
Call of
18.
Duty
So
game.
when I was 8, so when I turned 18.
Call of Duty came out in 2003, and then Call of Duty 2 came out in 2005. And then there's been like a one every year since then.
Good God.
2004. I was in university. Oh. I'd never even heard of Call of Duty. I remember, like the first Call of Duty I ever played was the fourth one. Jesus.
I wasn't even gaming then.
Wow.
That much, yeah. Like I say, I missed a lot of the 360 PlayStation 3 era.
That was the PS2, Xbox, GameCube era. That, or as I like to call it, the World of Warcraft and Halo 2 era, because those are the only two games I played that generation. And The Sims 2.
Sims.
Anyway, let's go through the notes. I've got a few bullet points here, actually.
Yes, you do.
9 of the
like
top 10 I do. Normally there's only like 2 or 3, but everything Matt was posting on Twitter was really interesting, so I just put the whole thing in. 9 of the top 10 best-selling games of March 2020 generated higher dollar sales than similarly ranked titles a year ago. So, like, spending is up. Understandable. Given that not everybody wants to play games.
There's no doubt about it. It's understandable because of what's happening with the pandemic and everything. Yeah. But I would still say I think the sale would still be, I still think for me, I think it would still be up probably high anyway, because last year for March, I don't think was the greatest year for games. If I remember right, didn't we get
there were a lot of
5 games out in 1 month? Wasn't that Anthem, Far Cry?
That was February, because that happened when we did a charity stream. Because right around, it might have been right around that charity stream. Yeah, I had Far Cry.
March might have been Mortal Kombat.
You done March 2019 video game releases. Here we go. Video game release date 2019. Well, I already saw Left Alive, which is a bad sign. Devil May Cry came out.
That sold well. It did sell well, but
what else came out? Because February was the month when like Anthem and Metro and Far Cry and Crackdown, all came out in like a week, and Apex Legends came out. Sekiro came out.
But was that that was exclusive to Xbox, wasn't it?
March. No.
Was it?
Sekiro came out. Final Fantasy VII came out on Switch and Xbox, the original, not the remake, obviously. It was a pretty dry month.
So right now,
contribute.
So even if we weren't having this thing going on right now, I think it would still be a higher month than last year for me personally.
I think,
but still fantastic. It's fantastic to hear that the game sales are up high.
I think you might see the same thing happen again, given that Resident Evil 3 a proper like launch would have been in April, and Final Fantasy VII was launched in April, and might be the same next month.
But then it might die off next month from May.
Well, the next track month will be this month, April. But I think May, it'll either die off, or people will just start buying older games. One of the two things will happen. Anyway, I've got 3 bullet points just about Animal Crossing. It's gonna blow you. This is gonna blow your tiny mind. Animal Crossing New Horizons was the best-selling game of March 2020, despite the lack of digital tracking for Nintendo-published software. Animal Crossing New Horizons instantly becomes the second best-selling game of 2020. So that Animal Crossing's performance doesn't include Nintendo's digital sales. So you don't share them with the NPD.
We have no idea what the numbers are at all. Until Nintendo come out and say something, which I can see
they will.
Them
they always do.
Doing.
They always give their sales figures. I got an email.
It might be when it's in a direct. So we all knew that you loved Animal Crossing New Horizons. This is how many people bought a copy of it.
I got an
combined
email
with digital sales.
I got an email about Final Fantasy VII saying it shipped digitally and physically 3.5 million copies in 3 days.
Nice.
I was like, holy shit. I'm pretty sure that was faster than The Witcher 3.
Sounds about right, yeah. you got to think, if there wasn't the thing going on right now, it might have even shipped more.
Maybe. They did send a lot of copies out early, so we'll see next month. Animal Crossing New Horizons achieved the third highest launch month physical dollar and unit sales of any Nintendo published game in tracked history. Only Super Smash Bros. Ultimate in December 2018 and Super Smash Bros. Brawl in March 2008 sold more in the launch month. Third best-selling launch month in Nintendo history.
Question is now, will that catch the number? Because if I believe so, Smash Bros. Ultimate overall is the best-selling Nintendo game on Switch.
I believe.
Or is it
No,
period in general?
Mario Kart 8 is the best-selling Switch
That's
game.
the one. That's the one. Now the question is, how close will Horizons get to Mario Kart?
I don't know about that. It's quite far ahead. I'm looking at a list here. Where's the date? It was updated within the last 3 months. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe 22.9 million. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate was 17.6.
What's Horizons?
No idea. We don't know the numbers. We won't know the numbers until Nintendo says. Maybe it could catch Mario Kart 8.
I think it'll catch Smash.
And then Nintendo will announce Mario Kart 9.
And then the numbers then.
Yeah, and the numbers will go off the charts.
Well, it won't be Mario Kart 9, it's going to be Mario Kart Ultimate.
Just Nintendo Kart. Instead of it just being Mario stuff, it's like all Nintendo. It's like Super Smash Bros. But for kart racing on Nintendo.
Basically.
Launch month dollar sales of Animal Crossing New Horizons have exceeded the lifetime sales of all other Animal Crossing franchise games, making Animal Crossing New Horizons the best-selling game in the franchise history. Now, I'm going to read that sentence again, because that's kind of... wow. Launch month dollar sales of Animal Crossing New Horizons have exceeded the lifetime sales of all other Animal Crossing franchise games. Not the launch month, not Animal Crossing launch sales. The lifetime sales of all other Animal Crossing games.
Bonkers. Absolutely bonkers.
It was out for 11 days.
It just shows like what you already said, like the power of when it comes to Nintendo fans, when it comes to their exclusives, and the power like us, like people who are listen to and who are Nintendo enthusiasts who do Nintendo podcasts literally for, they thought it would sell well, really good. Well, they did really think that, but they didn't think it was going to be something like this, because this game was at the most part, because this is the first one on a Switch and everything. It's the first one to go full mainstream, because they were just on the DSs, I believe.
Yeah,
so
GameCube, and then they went from GameCube, because the first one was launched on GameCube, and then it went to the handhelds.
So you've got all of that, and this is shooting up to incredible levels. It really is. Yeah, I really think this will be easily top 3 games of the year, best-selling games of the year, no doubt for me. If it's out of the top 3, I'll be surprised as hell.
Before, like, what's the date? The 26th of April. Like, a month and a half ago, Animal Crossing was considered like a B tier Nintendo property.
Yeah. And now it's
not anymore.
It's up there. When you hear Animal Crossing,
this is one of Nintendo's most, like, Nintendo is probably like, this is one of our most important properties right now.
Yeah.
So expect to hear a lot about Animal Crossing over the next couple of years from Nintendo.
Definitely, yeah. So, like, whenever there's a sequel or extended DLC or something like that, or expansions, the internet will break.
Yeah, they were just doing some stuff about what's coming up in May. There's like 3 events coming up in May, so they're pushing the support for it. Just as long as none of them have fucking eggs falling out of the sky. There's also 2 other bullet points here. I don't think they need discussing, but I want to mention them. MLB The Show 20 was the 3rd best-selling game of March and instantly becomes the 5th best-selling game of 2020. It's also the fastest-selling game in the franchise history, with launch month sales exceeding those of MLB The Show 19. And Call of Duty Modern Warfare was the number 2 best-selling game of March and is now the best-selling game of 2020 year to date, March sales of Call of Duty franchise titles reached a new all-time high for a March month, exceeding the previous peak set in March 2010.
Congratulations to all of them.
I think the Modern Warfare stuff was just pushed by Warzone. Because when you load up Warzone, it takes you into like the Modern Warfare like multiplayer page. So like all the options to like play Modern Warfare are in there as well. Because I was like, oh, a different mode for the Warzone, and I clicked it, and it was like, no, this is this is the multiplayer for Call of Duty Modern Warfare. You can't play this. Do you want to buy it?
Basically, yeah.
I was like, no, I don't want to buy it.
I don't want to buy it.
Okay, next up. 55 minutes in. Story number 3. Future Games Show to be broadcast in June. This is from Rich Stanton over at Kotaku, who writes, Today saw the announcement of the Future Games Show presented by Games Radar Plus, a digital showcase for the most exciting games of 2020 and beyond. In this, the year of next-generation consoles. The show will be an hour-long broadcast containing exclusive announcements and deep dives on existing AAA and indie games across consoles, mobile, and streaming platforms. It will be broadcast in June during what was to be E3 week. E3 2020 was scheduled for June 9th to June 11th, with more details to follow. There's just quotes and stuff. The important part is yet another show to stepped up to fill the gap that E3 and the ESA decided not to fill.
Like I've said all the time, I'll just say again. The industry is saving itself, basically. Who needs E3 and everything like that? The industry stepped up. We've got great things like IGN's doing their things, Gamescom with Jeff Keighley and everything, and many more doing this as well. So, respect, fantastic. Can't ask for much more for this.
So it looks like our E3 week streams might still be on, because we've got the Summer of Gaming, IGN's thing, Jeff Keighley's Game Festival, which is like the Steam thing, where there'll probably be live streams as well. We've got the Future Games Show.
Yeah.
Probably the Kind of Funny Games Showcase, although I haven't seen them mention anything about it yet. And then Microsoft and Ubisoft have still said they're doing something. So
yeah. And you gotta think EA are probably gonna do something as well.
EA must have something up their sleeves, because they don't have anything coming out apart from their sports games. And I feel like there's a shooter coming out at the end of the year. I feel it in my bones. I feel like Battlefield.
Call of Duty.
I feel like Battlefield's coming out.
I think I can see him announcing a new one. I can't see it coming out this year.
The last Battlefield 5 update is in June. So. And that's interesting.
I can't see him announcing it then. I can't see him announcing it then. For me, I can see him just wanting to push all of that and not forget and not overshadow it with a new game.
I think they I think if they announce Battlefield 6, let's just say it's Battlefield 6. At the same time they were like, hey, the last update for Battlefield 5's out. I think it might draw people back into the game. Like, who already own it. And also Battlefield 5 is on EA Access, so you can get it that way for $3.99 on your Xbox. I feel like that would make people go, oh, I'll jump back into Battlefield 5. I don't know. Again, it's just my brain like makes connections all the time.
No. I can understand where you're coming from. Yeah,
interesting.
Like it does feel like they're literally saying this is the last expansion.
This is the last expansion. It's coming out in June. What? No, June. June is an important month in video games, despite the fact that no video games ever come out in June.
You can literally see a light bulb just switch on above your head.
Sometimes, like, if you watch me like reading my phone on Twitter and stuff and seeing something like, and then I'll scroll on and I'll be like, I'll take the information in and then I'll scroll on, and then like 10 minutes later I'll be like, wait a minute.
Yeah, you're like attaching the dots on the wall, just looking at it. This is how it works. This is facts. I've put all the dots together.
Hey, I have predicted some crazy shit on this podcast over the years.
You have. And if one of the ones still happens at the end of this year, I'm like the world, like, I'm like bowing to you. Then that would top the time I predicted Play Anywhere a year before it got announced. The time I predicted Fallout 4 would come out in the year it came out. I said in January.
Fallout 4 is going to come out this year. Before there was rumors and leaks, and before we knew Bethesda was even doing E3.
Yeah.
It'll top the time, I guess, the name of the Xbox One X 6 months before E3. Like, Breath of the Wild 2 comes out in November, December. Like, that's my crowning achievement. I will retire.
The only one I've called was on our personal friends podcast, My Xbox and Me. I called that Xbox would join Game Pass and Gold together into an ultimate thing.
And
that's the only thing
I have it. Yeah. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. It's great.
Yeah.
I also predicted the other one I'm proud of, The Last Guardian. I predicted it would be revealed. I predicted it would be shot, like, said it's coming out in the same year and that it would get delayed. And Tom even bet me that it wouldn't come out in 2016 and ended up having to do a podcast without his shirt on because he lost. I remember that was a good one. Anyway, enough blowing my own trumpet. Let's move on. This is more of a PSA than anything. This is more of a PSA than anything else. If you've got a Nintendo Switch, Nintendo confirms up to 160,000 accounts accessed in huge privacy breach. This is from Tom Phillips over at Eurogamer, who writes, Nintendo has confirmed that up to 160,000 Nintendo accounts have been accessed in an enormous privacy breach. If you were affected, your private data such as your nickname, email, date of birth, gender, and country/region were potentially viewable by a third party. Credit card data was not accessed, though as Eurogamer reported earlier this week, linked payment methods were used in some cases to make unauthorized purchases. In a statement on its Japanese support site, Nintendo confirmed the issue was related to the company's own Nintendo Network ID, NNID, that's what that acronym is, login system. One of several methods used to log into your Nintendo account. NNID usernames and passwords were obtained illegally outside Nintendo's service, the company said, and then used to access accounts and make purchases. As a result, logging into your Nintendo account via the NNID method has been disabled. All affected NNID passwords will be reset. And then there's just some more stuff about what actually happened. Last week, Nintendo said the hacking attempts had been ongoing since early April. Nintendo account users will now be contacted via email to reset their passwords with a unique passcode not used elsewhere. Nintendo recommends you use a different password for your NNID and Nintendo account and set up two-factor authentication. I said that word right the first time. For some reason, I thought I didn't. If you've got a Switch, or you've got a Nintendo account, it's worth just going on, changing your password, and setting up two-factor authentication. Given this. I did. As soon as I saw this news story break, I was like, I'm going to reset all my shit. And I had to reset my password because I'd forgotten my password. I was like, I don't have two-factor authentication turned on. Shit.
Thankfully, I already have two-factor authentication.
I'm usually really good at turning it on. But I don't know. I must have been in a rush when I was setting up my Nintendo account because I just didn't.
You were like, I must play this. I must play Breath of the Wild.
Doing something. I might have been. That might have been literally it. I might have been like, I just want to play Breath of the Wild, man. I just want to play Breath of the Wild. Let me in. Let me in. Let me in.
You're playing it too long. Hurry up.
But yeah, it's like I went to check it, and you should definitely do that, because it's kind of serious.
Basically, yeah, definitely you can. This is the sad thing is this is a thing that happens all the time, which is disgusting to think. It really is. But yeah, just stay safe. Make sure your accounts are locked down and everything. Have two-factor authentication on and everything. And like what Amy's just said, go in even if you haven't been affected by this. Reset your password just to be on the safe side.
Yeah, just do it anyway because you don't know that. Because the way they got a hold of the passwords wasn't from Nintendo. Like, they didn't hack into Nintendo's database. There was obviously, someone had, and then there was a list that got sold to an illicit thing, whatever. So they might have, even if you haven't been affected by this, they might have your details. They just haven't used them yet. So it's just worth doing. It's always, it's always worth changing stuff. If you've got an account or something that's affected in this level, it's always worth just changing everything.
And if you want to go a little step further, don't put card details on there. If you want to get anything, go out and buy a card, like a Nintendo card or something, or do it through CD keys or something like that. Do it something like that if you feel it's safer.
Don't do it through CD keys. I don't like CD keys. But
don't do it through CD keys. Amy doesn't like CD keys.
I'm not a fan of the grey market. But yes, like, do everything you can to protect yourself. Don't save card details if you don't have to. Just put them in every time. It's only 30 seconds to type them in. Although it does make ordering food on Just Eat really annoying. Let's move on.
That's true.
Doom Eternal's official soundtrack wasn't mixed by its composer, and you can tell. This is from Fraser Brown over at PC Gamer, who writes, Doom Eternal is quite the looker. If you're a fan of heavy metal hellscapes, I am, but it's your ears that gets the biggest treat. Composer Mick Gordon's monster of a soundtrack is the perfect accompaniment to all the the demonic carnage, but there's something not quite right about the newly released OST. If you've been listening to the soundtrack and trying to figure out why it sounds off compared to its predecessor, which I had been, audio blogger, that AC/DC guy, great name, has broken down what's changed in a Twitter thread. Comparing BFG Division from Doom 2016 with the Doom Eternal version, they found some noticeable difference in the track's wavelengths. The audio file goes on to explain that the new version features less dynamic range between instruments, resulting in smoother wavelengths and making all the instruments compete for your ear's attention. Thankfully, it's still a killer OST, even with a questionable mix, and should be a treat for the all eardrums even when streamed via the likes of Spotify, where the quality has been reduced. That version is due in the coming weeks, but it's perhaps not all that could have been. Gordon responded, offering an explanation. He didn't mix the track. Apparently the composer mixed a small handful of them, which haven't been as compressed. He doesn't sound too impressed, suggesting that he wasn't involved in the decision. Following this, a fan allegedly reached out to the composer on Instagram, which they shared on Reddit, asking if he'd work with id on future Dooms. Quote, doubt we'll work together again. End quote. He said. I reached out to Gordon to get more details on the mix and his relationship with id and Bethesda. Quote, I take a lot of pride in my work, Gordon said. It's all I do, it's all I have, and I pour my heart and soul into it. End quote. He added that he's still trying to understand the situation himself and has no further comments at this time. Moody, do you know who I love mixing my heavy metal soundtracks or my heavy metal albums? People in marketing departments. I feel like they're the people who really understand how the music should go together. Like, it's been weird. It's been a weird one. Like, I've been listening to the Doom Eternal soundtrack because I love that. I love Doom 2016 soundtrack. And it did sound weird. It's not just the mixing, it's the way that the songs have been cut together. In that they just sounded really weird. Like, the time signatures sounded weird. The cuts in them sounded weird. And then when this came out, this whole story came out, I was like, oh, that explains it.
It is a weird one. There's no doubt about it, because like everyone who's like reviewed the game saying it's fantastic, all say the soundtrack's still fantastic and everything. And like when this comes out, so when hearing this, I was just like, I'm very confused about it. I wasn't really sure what was going on here.
It seems like someone's mixed most of the soundtrack, and they don't really know. They don't seem to know much about mixing music.
Yeah.
Because essentially, like the way like a good composer or a good like musician would mix music is they wouldn't just set everything at the same level. Like all of the instruments wouldn't be like at the same volume level at the same time. Like it would shift depending on which part of the track you're in, and depending on what you want to highlight, which is how it worked in the Doom 2016 soundtrack. But it's not how it worked in the Doom Eternal soundtrack. And we're just talking about the soundtrack, not the in-game music, as far as I'm aware. And it's just a really strange situation. Like, why wouldn't you just let Mick Gordon, if you're Bethesda or id, why wouldn't you just let Mick Gordon mix his own soundtrack? Like, his soundtrack for Doom 2016 is iconic. Like, he's one of the big parts of that game, like that game's success. ongoing success. Like the people talking about the game, a lot of people are still talking about the music. And it just seems weird that you would let someone else mix the songs. Piss Mick Gordon off. Piss off all of the people who have bought the soundtrack or listen to the soundtrack.
Yeah. It's just again, it's just another pain of the backside to the reputation of Bethesda a little bit. Like it's because obviously Bethesda will be the ones who allowed this to happen.
I would have thought it would have been a Bethesda thing. I don't think id Software probably had anything to do with the release of the soundtrack.
Yeah, so it's just another blemish on them to a certain extent and everything. Hopefully this is going to get all sorted out and that the relationship can be sorted out and smoothed out and that way they can work together again, because you got to think, obviously, with the incredible success of Eternal, another Doom is in the process of getting made. So they'll need a new sound. They'll need a soundtrack of rocking to the beat of what they want and everything. And I think a lot of the fans, and we can all know how fans can get sometimes on social media, will be shouting at Bethesda to bring this man back and get it properly sorted and make sure it's hitting the beats of what the Doom remake did in 2016.
Doing 2016, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what people will be shouting out for and everything. So
yeah, I can't imagine a Doom game now without a Mick Gordon soundtrack. That doesn't compute.
It will. I'm sure for a lot of people it would be weird. If they do, whoever they bring in, I hope, and they do say that Gordon is popular. Like he's just said, he won't be working with them again. He doesn't intend
allegedly.
to.
That part was unverified.
Yeah, if that is true, and they have to get a new person, I'll say this right now: give the new person a chance, ladies and gentlemen. If all you know, they'll come out and. As long as you are blowing up monsters and you're nodding your head away with the music, that's really all you want, really, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, like if it's still a good soundtrack, it's still a good soundtrack. But I can't imagine it not being Mick Gordon who does the soundtrack.
Yeah. Like, that's true.
I'd still be like, well, as long as it's good, it's good.
That's all that matters. Yeah.
And Mick Gordon will be fine. There'll be
no offense to anybody here. I bet no one even knew who the hell this person was until after Doom 2016.
I didn't, so there is that. He does the soundtrack for the Wolfenstein games as well, so it's like he does work with Bethesda on a lot of soundtracks. The Killer Instinct soundtrack as well. And he did the Lawbreakers theme. Remember Lawbreakers? That was a great game that 12 people played. I love that game for the month that it was like it was playable.
Maybe it was one of those 12 people.
It was so good. I was so annoyed that nobody fucking played it. I'm just gonna skip to the end here, really, because meh. I want to talk about Elijah Wood.
That's fair.
So we're gonna end our news segment on a nice story about Elijah Wood and Animal Crossing. Elijah Wood visits girls Animal Crossing Island, has beautiful manners. This is from Luke Plonker over at Kotaku. He writes, the story here is not that celebrities play Animal Crossing and visit other players' islands. They do it all the time. You just probably didn't realise it was them. No, this story is about Elijah Wood's impeccable Animal Crossing manners and how he should serve as an example to all island travellers. Earlier last week, as EW reported, 23-year-old Jessica Kovalik put out a call, as we all do, for turnip-selling visitors. This generally results in two things happening. Some of your friends see the message and hop on in, and some Twitter randos also see it, and you have to simply hope that they are nice guests while visiting. But who knows, because A, this is Twitter, and B, these are Twitter randos. For Jessica, though, a third and magical thing happened. Actor Elijah Wood turned up. I love this because his name is Elwood and his villager looks just like him, but also because he is just the most model island guest. Whatever. Did you see this? I saw this as it was happening on Twitter. It was fantastic. Like, the person put out some screenshots on Twitter of it. She got like DM. She put out the thing where she was like, "My turnip price is whatever it is," and then she got DM'd by Elijah Wood. He was like, "Hey, can I come to your island and sell my turnips?" And then Elijah Wood turns up, and he's the most polite person ever. He's like walking around our island. He's like, "Do you mind if I pick some fruit?" Like, you have a beautiful island. I was just looking at the screenshots, just like, this is the wholesome content I crave and never get.
This is awesome. There's no doubt about this. This is just like, yeah, Elijah Wood comes across as one of the most nicest people out there and everything. And yeah, respect. This is just fantastic. Like I said, finished on a nice note. And I think this is a good note.
Sometimes I really try to find a nice note to finish on. But we're not finished yet, Mooney.
I know.
It's time for games out this week. There's a lot.
I think it's funny. Sorry for putting in. That 2 weeks ago, we had no games.
2 weeks ago, it was literally nothing. Nothing came out. Apart from the random weird games on Steam that we don't talk about because we'll be here forever. On April 28th, we have Sakura Wars on PS4. SnowRunner on PC, PS4 and Xbox One. Moving Out on PC, PS4, Xbox One and Switch. Gears Tactics on PC. The Inner Friend on PS4 and Xbox One. And Telling Lies on PS4, Xbox One and Switch. On April 29th, we have Dreadnautical coming to PC, PS4, Xbox One and Switch. And on April 30th, we have Legends of Runeterra coming out on PC and mobile. Streets of Rage 4 coming to PC, PS4, Xbox One and Switch. That's also coming out in Game Pass. And Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Campaign Remastered coming out on PC and Xbox One. And then on May 1st, we've got Arcade Spirits coming out on PS4, Xbox One and Switch. Breathe. It's a lot of fucking games. I pointed this out on Twitter beginning of last week where I was updating my spreadsheet with like game releases so I knew what was happening. And I just sort of looked down the column and I was like, what the fuck? Like, where'd all these games come from? Shit. I don't have Trials of Mana yet.
Well, we've got to remember, like I said, Modern Warfare 2, it's already out on PlayStation. But obviously it was a month's exclusivity, wasn't it?
Yeah, like Telling Lies, The Inner Friend.
Which I think is that everyone's forgotten about now.
Yeah, I forgot about it. Until I put the NPD numbers into the document that we've got, I completely forgot it was a thing. I was like, oh yeah, that did come out.
The question is, Amy, are we going to team up on Streets of Rage 4?
I don't know, because I'm looking at this list of games and I'm like, am I going to get to Streets of Rage 4?
Are we going to team up and try and move out?
I'll let you know.
Are we going to actually play Monopoly?
Oh god, I know. I was bad. I didn't want to.
I was waiting for that text
when it came down to it. I was like, oh, I don't want to play this stuff.
With our unicorns and everything.
No, I bought Monopoly Plus with My Little Pony expansion. I bought Moody the My Little Pony expansion, and we're going to stream it at some point. When we're sick of Apex Legends, I guess. Oh god, I'd forgotten about that until you just mentioned it.
But Amy, tell everyone the most important thing, because there's a score that needs to be updated. Let's
play Guess the Score. This is the game that me and Moody play most weeks, where we try to guess the OpenCritic score of one new release game that's coming out over the course of the next week. Whoever gets closest gets 1 point. If you manage to guess the score dead on, you get 2 points. Last week, Mooney and I tried to guess the score of XCOM Chimera Squad. Predator and I'd played Predator and Trials, so I didn't think it was fair to use those as, I don't know, games that we were going to guess the score of. Anyway, last week I guessed that XCOM Chimera Squad would get an OpenCritic average of 89. Moody guessed that it would get an 84. The OpenCritic average of XCOM Chimera Squad at the time of recording is 78. It's one below Resident Evil 3. Because that went down again.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. In my fantasy gameplay, it needs to stop.
Oh, it's not like you're running away from it right now, is it?
You've still got The Last of Us might come out this year. And Halo. that puts the current scores at Amy 5, Moody 7. I guess closest on Dreams, Warcraft 3, One Punch Man, Half-Life Alyx, and Resident Evil 3. Moody guessed closest on Zombie Army 4, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, XCOM Chimera Squad, and guessed spot on for Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. You know, by the time we get to the end of the year, when I do the recap of all the games that we've guessed, I want to be like fucking blue in the face, out of breath, passed out on my microphone. Luckily, I imagine this summer there'll be a few weeks where we don't do this because nothing's coming out. This week, though, there are plenty of games coming out. And the game that we are going to guess the OpenCritic average for is Gears Tactics. We're in that situation where the reviews will probably be out before the podcast is out, but we've recorded this. There's no reviews out for it yet.
The reviews, I think, could drop Monday, so...
Yeah. We've had that happen a few times.
Yeah. A couple of our friends have played it.
Yes, I've talked to someone who has played it. They haven't told me anything about the game. I just know that he's played it. Because I'm playing it and I don't read reviews, he sent the review out to our group chat to be like, can someone read this and make sure it's okay? And I specifically didn't click it because somebody else had already looked at it and I was like, I don't want to read this. I want to go in fresh.
Yeah, that's understandable. Yeah, the only thing I'm hearing from people who played it before the reviews, that's saying they were overall positive, which is good to hear.
It looks like a good game.
Yeah, especially a game that I had no interest in whatsoever. I'll say for a fact. I'm not gonna lie. But the Gears franchise is a well-received franchise overall. People overall enjoy the franchise, even though the gameplay, when it comes to normal games, the normal franchise hasn't clicked for me. This one does scream out something for me because, like I said, I'm pretty sure this is kind of like XCOM.
It's a tactics game, so it's pretty much it's very XCOM-like.
Yeah, and that screams out something that might be the right thing for me to get into. So, where do I think this is going to land, Erie? Where do I think this is going to land?
That's what I asked. I literally asked.
Haven't researched anything. Haven't even looked on OpenCritic because
you're usually so good at that.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, but like going off the other games doesn't really help me here.
No, it doesn't help at all. It's a completely different game.
Yeah. The only other ones I could look at is Halo Wars and everything like that, and they're
different. That's a different type of game altogether.
At the same time, yeah, that's more like it's more strategy game than this. So. Okay, I'm gonna go for it. I'm going 80.
I can't believe this hasn't happened sooner.
Oh!
As you know, I write it down every week before Moody guesses his score, so that I'm not basing my score off of his score. And I can't believe how many points we've done. This 11 weeks in 2020, and this is the 12th, and it's the first time that's happened.
Well, it's just because it's on Alien Day. Alien Days helped me.
I don't know what to do. I never planned for this.
Yeah, so we can't.
Okay, I'm gonna move my score 1 point, but the question is which direction. Oh, there's part of me that really wants to shift.
It's a 50-50 choice here, isn't it? Because like whatever 50, direction 50. You go, you're going to lose or win.
You know what, Moody? I'm going to take a lesson from Amy past, which hasn't worked out too well for me because I'm 2 points behind, but whatever. And I'm going to side with optimism. I'm going to move my score by 1 to 81. Mm-hmm. Does that seem fair?
Seems fair. Seems fair indeed.
So,
well, it's just going to be in the high 90s, isn't it?
We've had that happen before. Remember Warcraft 3? That's all I'm going to say.
And Resident Evil 3.
And Resident Evil 3.
Yeah.
We were miles off on those two games. Okay, so we got the scores locked in. Gears Tactics, I have guessed an 81. Moody, you have guessed an 80.
This is going to be fascinating.
Yeah. Well, they're so close. We've never had one all year where we've been within 1 point of each other.
Yeah.
So that shift where it keeps shifting 1 point every now and again in a different direction could Could be interesting.
Well, it's going to be interesting, like, if it finishes, like, if it starts, like, when reviews drop tomorrow and, like, they're in, like, high enough for yours, but they slowly go down by Sunday.
No, stop.
Every day you're going to be like, no, don't do this to me.
Well, I had that with Half-Life, if you remember. Half-Life started out on the score that I guessed, and then it went up, and then it went back down. And I was like, what's happening? Come on. And then it went up again, and I was like, fuck. This game is more intense than I thought it would be, like, when I conceived of the idea.
It's more fun.
It is fun. Anyway, we've got a little bit of time left at the end of the podcast.
And you want to remember Doors.
Oh, yeah, Doors. And Apex Legends, which we'll probably play after this. I fancy playing it. I was going to finish Final Fantasy VII, but I think I'll play some Apex tonight. I was really feeling it last night, apart from when Keith killed me. Not directly. So, we're in a three-way fight. It's the last three teams, right? Mm. And we're in the building, and there's another team in the rocks outside. And then there's a third team on the highway. And I'm setting the scene here. I had a legendary sniper rifle out of a care package in an Evo scope. Not an Evo scope, an Evo shield. Right? I was fucking loving life at that point. Everything was going great. Someone dropped a bombardment. You went in the building. At the time, you were further away. And me and Keith were in the second floor of this building. And there's bombs exploding everywhere. It's like fucking high chaos. And we're just inside. Like fucking crouched down. Like, what's that? Please don't go through the roof. You know, like stuff like that, right? So the bombardment stops. And I'm like, I've got a legendary sniper rifle. But there's people at this door that's facing towards the action. So I went out the back door and went around. Saw Bangalore run across the open field. I was like, I'm a fucking Kraber sniper rifle. I got you now, motherfucker. 290 damage. Straight in the head. Instantly down. Evo shield levels up. I'm like, I'm going into this last fight really good. Anyway, guys on the ground are pushing, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get my machine gun out. And I'm like, because you know they're coming at us, like repel borders. Guys on the highway start throwing grenades at us. They don't know where you are, which I thought was funny. Anyway, there's grenades landed on this balcony, and I'm like, fuck, I need to go back inside because this whole balcony is going to explode. And as I'm running, I'm not very far away. I take 4 steps, and the door just shuts in my face. And then the grenade goes off. The door explodes because there's grenades going off everywhere. And I've gone from having like a fully charged Evo shield to having like 10 health.
Yeah.
Because Keith shut the door. He was like, oh no, a grenade. Didn't think, maybe Amy needs to get back in.
Amy, take the blast.
Like, I've just dived on the grenade. Like,
basically, yeah. You did. He was expecting it to be a dud like Captain America.
Yeah. It wasn't a dud. It was a thermite grenade. It set me on fire. And then a Pathfinder just burst through the door and killed me in one shot because I had no health left. So I was a bit salty.
Just a bit.
A little bit. I like the match we played where I don't know why we started shooting at each other.
I can't remember either.
But we started shooting at each other. Like, we'd had a bad game the game before. We were talking shit to each other.
Yeah.
You kept taking stuff that I was looking at. And I'm sure I was giving you shit for it. And then you shot at me. And then I shot at you. And Keith was just doing his whole, like, fuck's sake, guys. Like, oh. And he even said, oh, this isn't going to end well. And we were literally, it was like a light switch. And we were just like, ha ha, da da da, oh, fuck you, Moody, blah, 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 blah. And then Keith just went, there's bad guys over there. And it was just like, serious mode, right?
Basically it was, yeah. Right, we're ready to go.
It was like, I'm going to fuck you up, I'm going to fuck you up. Oh, there's bad guys over there. All right, Moody, flank left, Keith, flank right. And we killed them. And we finished second. With 9 kills.
Yeah, we almost had that guy. We had that golden bloody shotgun, and we were all in close quarters, weren't we? So,
It happens.
Yeah.
It happens. Have you played Predator?
No, I don't have the PlayStation, do I?
No, you don't have a PlayStation. It's on PC, but you don't have a PC. Yeah. I don't know how I feel. I don't know how I feel about Predator. I don't know whether I want to play it or not.
Yeah.
I watched some streams of it, and I was like, it looks like it will be fun sometimes and not fun other times.
So it sounds like Evolve and Friday the 13th,
Yeah.
where you're having fun with it, but there's sometimes you're just like, I'm not having fun here.
Yeah, like I was watching the stream of it, and I don't know. I don't know how you like balancing an asynchronous multiplayer game must be difficult, but I don't know. It looked like the Predator was really underpowered. Like when the people on the team of the soldiers are like, "Well, let's just go hunt down the Predator." I'm like, that's not how a Predator game should work.
No.
Like I feel like something's gone wrong where it's just like, let's all go kill the Predator. Like, you're not Arnie. This isn't the end of the movie. Like,
Yeah.
I
You're
don't
not
know.
covered in mud.
Yeah, you are covered in mud because you look down and you mud up.
Oh, cool.
But I don't know. It's a game I've kind of been thinking about skipping anyway because it's not available physically. I'd have to buy it. I've got, as we just read out, Gears,
games,
Sakura Wars, Legends of Runeterra. Trials of Mana hasn't arrived from Boomerang. I've got to finish fighting, then all the games I was talking about at the beginning.
What is Legends of Runeterra?
It's the League of Legends card game.
Ah.
It got announced and revealed at EGX last year.
Announced
yes.
and
yes.
That's
it was a big there was a big stage on the floor plans and no one knew what it was for, and they announced it on day one or like the night before EGX, and it was like, you come and play it at EGX. So I did, and it was surprisingly enjoyable.
Okay. I like card games and everything. I do like I enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh and all.
Give it a try. It's free.
Might have to.
And it's in open beta, so you don't need to wait until April 30th. You can play it now. I remember I played for 45 minutes at EGX. I found this like strategy where I had this deck with like a hero in it, and it was all based on like she's a spider queen, and like you just exponentially creating more and more spiders to overwhelm your opponents. And I was like, this is a play style for me.
Absorb the punishment and then just unleash your
and then just unleash spiders. That was fun.
Yeah, there's some games like I said. There's some games like that. Moving Out, I loved what I saw of the trailer for that, and I'm in contact like with Code Sync for it, who were developing it. And like
who's publishing it? Because I haven't reached out for a code. I might be too late now.
Code Sync, you know.
They're developing it. I think Team 17. Yeah, Team 17.
Yeah, Team 17. Yeah.
I might try and get a code for it.
Yeah, and I
might try and get two. I'm gonna get one.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
I said I might try and get two. If I want to get one, I might as well get.
Like up to Streets of Rage coming get Game Pass. That's really kind.
Yeah, like I was really surprised it's coming straight out at Game Pass, which is cool. It would. The thing about Streets of Rage is they're not my kind of games, like brawlers. Like I played Streets of Rage 2 on Xbox, no, on Mega Drive. Xbox didn't exist back then, but yeah, it was fun to beat the shit out of my friend with a garbage can. But apart from that, I wasn't very good at it. There's a Golden Axe as well.
I think Golden Game Pass is perfect for it because it's not a franchise that is well renowned around the world and everything like that. Yeah, like people like we know who have got the nostalgia factor for it and loved it growing up and everything. But it's not one of those games that's just like, yes, this is perfect. This is going to sell bazillion copies and everything. It's not going to do that. So Golden Game Pass is spot on. You get an easy payday basically because Microsoft obviously will pay them to put it in and everything. So.
Yeah, obviously, like. There'll be a deal in place for that. I feel like I wish Moving Out was coming into Game Pass because I would play the shit out of it.
It screams out a game that will eventually go in there.
Yeah.
Because, like, say, Overcooked. I think they're the ones who did Overcooked. Code Sync.
I see it every fucking year.
I know Team 17 published it, but I think it's Code Sync who did the game.
Ghost Town Games.
Oh, Ghost Towns. My apologies.
Code Sync have done a few games because their name keeps ringing bells in my head.
Yeah, but it's basically like the same type of like Overcooked and everything, and I have a lot of fun with those games. So
yeah, I mean they're fun. Like we play at most charity streams. We played Overcooked a few times. On like 24-hour charity streams, 48-hour charity streams, because they're just fun. And they get your energy going again, which is good.
It's like a good warm-up game to get your brain working.
Yeah, the best game I've played for that is Ultimate Chicken Horse. Like, when we did the... it was a 24-hour stream we did last year, because we did 2. And we ended. We didn't plan to end on Ultimate Chicken Horse. But we started at like 4 hours from the end of the stream. It's like, let's get our energy back up. Let's have a laugh because it's a funny game. And then we played it for the entire rest of the stream because it was just amazing. Like, it's such a good party game to play. It's where you've got to get from one side of the level to the other side of the level. And every turn, each player puts down a trap or an obstacle or a platform. And you've got to then navigate this ever-increasing death maze that you build to get to the end. And the idea is you want to be the only person that gets to the end. Because if everybody gets to the end, nobody gets any points. And it just becomes this fantastic game. I love it so much.
Great. What you want?
But yeah, it's cool. What are you playing at the minute?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't know why I said who, me, because I'm the only one who's...
No, the other person in the podcast, you know? Jeff.
The other person in the background. Yo, Funko Pops, what are you playing right now?
Apart from Apex, what else are you playing?
Apex, I play Formula 1 2019. It's just a nice, simple, relaxing game for me. Just sit back, chill. I am literally... Star Trek Online is literally got its hooks in me right now. It's weird. I just like the ground mechanics and everything. They're terrible. They are atrocious. There's writing ain't the greatest, but there's nostalgia factor just flying around in your ship through space, going to Wolf 349 or 5 or whatever it's called, and then going to like Deep Space Nine, going on Deep Space Nine, chatting with Quark and everything. It's like really cool. Then like seeing captains like Captain Nog, Captain LaForge. I've just seen Worf. It's like it brings back the nostalgia.
They got everybody in there.
Oh. And they got 7 and 9 on there. She keeps popping up saying she wants me to do a mission with her, and I'm just like, I'll get to you later. Go away.
There we go.
So it's not the greatest game. I'll never deny that. It's not a great game, but it's a fun game.
This is the thing, right? Not every game needs to be the best. Right?
Oh yeah, agree that. I agree.
Like it doesn't have to be amazing to be good, right? Like I spent the majority of 2019 when I was listening to podcasts, sitting here like in not when I'm like out and about, playing the Division 2. The Division 2 is in no way a great game. It's fine, like to just grind away at. But yeah, it's like I played the Division 2 was probably one of my like top 5 most played games of 2019, like just from time alone, because it was easy to play and grind out while I was listening to podcasts. And it's like it was good for that, and it's a good game. But I never would have put it in like my top 5 games of the year. Like
yeah.
But it doesn't need to be great to like be enjoyable.
And I'm right there with you. Like I say, like I'll take a quote from a friend of mine. He says, "I'd rather play a ton of 7 out of 10s than wait for that 10 out of 10."
Yeah,
throughout the year, and it's he's spot on there. He really is.
like we talk about the big games like of 2020, like Animal Crossing, Half-Life, stuff like that. Like the top tier. These are my favorite games of the year so far. But then it's like there's other games that have come out, like Iris and the Giant or Kentucky Route Zero, where it's like they're not 10 out of 10s, but I sat down, I played them, I enjoyed them. Like XCOM Chimera Squad, I've already put 10 hours into that game, and
Yeah, you look like you're having fun. Now when I saw
it's
you,
a fun game. It's not going to be in my top 10 games of 2020 unless nothing else comes out after this next week. But
well, going off what Jeff Keighley said, Jason Snyder said. I don't know why I said Jeff Keighley there.
I'm probably still going to put like 20 hours into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's not me. Like that'll be in the top whatever percentage of games played. Like Animal Crossing, you saw it last week. I've put 100+ hours in that game already. By the end of the year, that I don't want to think about what that number's going to be. But if like The Last of Us Part 2 comes out and lives up to its hype, if Cyberpunk comes out and lives up to its hype, Ghost of Tsushima could come out and surprise everyone. Halo they're supposed to be coming out. Like, there's plenty of games that might unseat it from my game of the year, but it'll still be the most played I've played a game in 2020. Except maybe Apex. But
yeah, pick Apex.
you know what I mean? It's like the length of a game and how long you can play it doesn't necessarily go like say like this is the best because I played it the most. Nah. That's not how video games works.
No.
Cool. I'm gonna wrap it up. Nice little post-show discussion. I requested a review code for a game live on a podcast. That was episode 203 of the Words About Gamescast. Thank you very much for watching or listening, and thank you for joining me, Moody. It's always a pleasure to talk. Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to talk video games with you.
No, wrong sign with this.
One day we should start an anime podcast.
Where I just say, pick this one.
Watch this. And it's just like an evolving top 10 list or whatever. I just like watch a thing, come back, and we just put it in the list somewhere and we talk about it.
I won't lie. If you ask me one for the next one, I've already got one which will have you won't finish it.
To be honest, there are a few anime that I've watched on my own. I haven't finished. The one I'm watching at the moment is like, it's iffy whether I'm at like episode 17 at the minute. And I'm like,
what's it called now?
ReZero. And I'm like,
oh yeah,
it started strong, and then it was still good, and then like it's split into different story arcs, and the story arc I'm watching at the minute is just like, I don't know about this bit. Like, I'm trying to get past this story arc to get to the next one, because like up until that point I was like, this is really good, and now I'm like, it's still good, but it's not clicking. When's this storyline gonna be over?
Yeah. You could just do what my partner did and just completely skip the entire series of Breaking Bad.
To be fair, there's only 25 episodes of this anime, so it's not like it's a massive hassle to keep watching. Like, I'll be finished it in the next few days.
Yeah.
And then I've got a recommendation from someone else waiting for me. I'm just cycling through all of you.
Okay, next up is this guy.
Next up is Kirsty. I'll get a recommendation from her. I'll get back to you eventually. But so far, you're winning. I've only taken 2 recommendations from 2 different people so far, but yours is like Toradora is like up here, and ReZero is like a bit far behind it. And now I really want to make this list and just keep updating it.
Yeah. What I'm watching. I've just got Crunchyroll for the first time, and I've gone for nostalgia for myself. So I've started watching One Piece. Nostalgia for Toradora because I just love that. But I'm just taking my time with it because I've already watched them all. So
yeah.
So
here's the thing: it's like I haven't seen so many anime.
Yeah, there's so many great anime out there.
It's all you and me, except for like 10 maybe anime I've watched my entire life. I'm gonna beat that by the end of May. Anyway, that is going to do it for episode 203 of the Words About Gamescast. Thank you very much for joining me, Moody. It's been a pleasure as always. Now all that's left to do is to say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Wow. I just saw the look on your face.